Hello, and welcome to my presentation. Have you ever wondered how you move? Or how the body produces the energy that it needs to do all the amazing things that it does? And why the heck do we need oxygen in order to live? Well, today I'm going to be doing my expository address on cellular respiration. Cellular respiration is, in essence, the process of taking chemical energy from glucose and converting it into the chemical P, or adenosine triphosphate molecule. This molecule can be used by your cells to carry out the work that they need to do. Don't worry, this first image may look a little bit confusing, but I'll break it down into a process that you can easily understand. And here it is. Doesn't look that bad, I don't think. So, the first step is taking glucose from the inside of the cell, and as you can see here, this glucose is actually inside of the cell. This is the cytoplasm of the cell. So the first step is glycolysis, and it's a series of 10 enzymes that takes glucose, produces NADH, ATP, and the resulting molecule of pyruvate. And it's important to realize that glycolysis can happen in the cytoplasm, as we see here, or it can actually happen in between cells. It doesn't necessarily have to be within a cell. So the next step, pyruvate, goes from inside of the cytoplasm through pores in the mitochondria, as we can see here, into the intermembrane space of the mitochondria. And the next process is called pyruvate processing. Stands to reason. Pyruvate processing creates NADH, CO2, which is then put back into the bloodstream and exhaled through the lungs, and acetyl-CoA, which is the next step in the process. Acetyl-CoA goes into a cycle called the citric acid cycle. As you can see here, acetyl-CoA comes in and combines with oxaloacetate and forms citrate through an enzyme process combining them. What makes it a cycle is that the product of the end of the cycle, oxaloacetate, combines with the previous point, which is acetyl-CoA, and makes it a process. So the citric acid cycle is essentially 8 enzymes breaking down citrate to form the products, as you can see here. CO2 is a product which is then put into the bloodstream, exhaled, just the same as before. NADH, if I didn't explain it earlier, is an electron carrier molecule and will be used later in the electron transport chain. Produces more CO2, NADH, and as you can see bottom right, ATP and GTP. GTP is actually holds energy for the cell, but the primary energy giving molecule for the cell is ATP. And finally, FADH is also produced. FADH is just another electron carrier molecule that will be used in the electron transport chain, which is coming up next. So this process will go all the way through. Oxaloacetate will be the product, and the next acetyl-CoA will come in and start the cycle again. So here's the electron transport chain. I'm going to flip to the next slide really quick just to show you exactly where it is in this cycle if you have forgotten. Oh, one more. So as you can see here, this is the membrane and the intermembrane space from which here the electron transport chain is. So the electron transport chain is a series of membrane-bound organelles that use the electrons from NADH, as you can see here in complex 1, and pumps protons into the intermembrane space to build up a concentration of them. So NADH releases its electron, gives energy to complex 1, and starts pumping in hydrogens. A carrier protein, here called Q, all is transferred to complex 3, and FADH also contributes an electron to Q. And complex 3 continues to pump hydrogens into the intermembrane space. The electron is then used again in complex 4, and this is where oxygen comes in. As you can see here, bottom right of the figure, oxygen comes in, grabs the electron, and in that process also pumps another hydrogen into the intermembrane space of the mitochondria. And the oxygen takes that used electron so that the next one can come in and take its place. So, now we're at the final step, which is the primary step, which produces the majority of the ATP, and that's at the end of the electron transport chain. So this is another membrane-bound protein complex, which takes the intermembrane space protons, as you can see at the top, which have accumulated to form a high concentration, and it feeds them through this enzyme, and it spins this little part of the enzyme, which is like a wheel. It's like a water wheel, and it uses the actual kinetic energy of the flow of protons through this protein to produce the majority of ATP. And from here, the ATP is used throughout the cell. It's used for different processes within and outside of the mitochondria. And that's why the mitochondria is called the powerhouse of the cell, is because it produces the majority of ATP for the cell's functions. ATP is used nearly immediately in all of the cell processes that it needs to take place. From a single-celled organism to humans, evolution has driven the creation of complex processes in order for us to live and breathe day in and day out. The path of cellular respiration is a complex one, but it also shows that the incredible adaptation that we've had to develop in order to live on this planet. And now you can tell your friends and family that you know exactly how the body produces the energy that it needs. Thank you, and have a nice day.